In today's dynamic educational landscape, reflective practice stands as a cornerstone of effective teaching and transformative leadership. One of the most influential models guiding this practice is Kolb's reflective cycle, a powerful framework for experiential learning that enables educators to systematically analyze their experiences, learn from them, and apply new insights in real time. This cycle, which includes four key stages, offers more than just a process for personal reflection. It serves as a tool for professional growth, instructional innovation, and evidence based decision making. By engaging deeply with this cycle, teachers, principals, and school leaders not only improve their individual performance, but they also foster a culture of continuous learning throughout the school community. Kolb's reflective cycle plays a critical role in driving school improvement and developing human capital across educational institutions. When consistently applied, it helps educators identify what works, refine teaching strategies, and lead with greater clarity and confidence. For school leaders, it becomes a mechanism for developing reflective teams, supporting data driven change, and empowering staff to take ownership of their professional learning. In a broader sense, the cycle contributes to increased efficiency and effectiveness, reducing repeated mistakes, promoting adaptive teaching, and aligning school practices with both student needs and institutional goals. Ultimately, Kolb's model does not just make individuals better educators, it helps shape more resilient, responsive, and high performing schools. So, if you want to become better at what you do, please watch this video to see how Kolb's reflective cycle is structured and its connection to the experiential learning theory ELT. Definition of Kolb's reflective cycle. Kolb's reflective cycle is a widely recognized model of experiential learning developed by David Kolb in 1984. It provides a structured framework for reflecting on experiences to facilitate continuous learning and improvement. The cycle consists of four key stages: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. This cyclic process allows individuals to reflect systematically and improve their future practices, especially relevant in professions such as education and leadership. Let's see now the relationship between Kolb's experiential learning theory and Kolb's reflective cycle. Kolb's experiential learning theory is considered to be the big picture. It was introduced in 1984 and it is considered as the theoretical model of how people learn from experience. It proposes that learning is a continuous process grounded in experience, and it occurs through four-stage cycle: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. This theory is fundamental and emphasizes the cyclical and dynamic nature of learning. Kolb's reflective cycle is considered to be the practical application of ELT. So Kolb's reflective cycle is the practical framework derived from ELT. It's the how-to version of the theory that guides individuals through a structured process of reflection. The reflective cycle provides a structured way to engage with the ELT process, making it easier for practitioners to apply in real-world contexts, such as schools and workplaces. Even though the Kolb's reflective cycle was established in 1984, we can still see that recent scholars were focusing on researching its impact on academia, highlighting on the main major scholars and their published work which named Kolb's theory in today's world. We will start with Dr. Haritha, Dr. Ratna, and the research study which was published in the Journal of Engineering Education Transformations in 2024. They said integrating Kolb's theory into professional studies enhances the understanding of soft skills, contributing to holistic student development. In 2021, Akila, in the Journal of Management and Organization, highlighted the collaborative aspects of Kolb's model. She noted Kolb's experiential theory fosters collaborative learning essential for effective organizational development. In the same year, 2021, in the article published in Sports Management Educational Journey, Croft and Miller and Stokowski spoke about the application of Kolb's ELT to sports marketing education. They observed that implementing Kolb's ELT in sports marketing projects enhances practical learning experiences, bridging theory and practice. In 2019, in a study published in Science Direct, Chang discussed the environmental education applications of Kolb's ELT and reflective cycle. The study concluded Kolb's four-stage experiential learning theory provides a holistic model for translating authentic experiences into concepts, engaging students in learning about the environment. In 2023, a study which illustrates the application of Kolb's model in just-in-time faculty development, highlighting its effectiveness in supporting educators' development of new knowledge, skills, and attitude, clearly mentioned that Kolb's cycle of experiential learning is an easy, accessible, and effective approach to improve faculty learning in time and resource-limited environments. These perspectives underscore the versatility of and the relevance of Kolb's ELT in fostering effective learning environments across various academic disciplines, make it extremely relevant in today's world. Now let's try to have an in-depth analysis of the four stages that are mentioned in the cyclic process of the reflective cycle, which allows learners to reflect on experiences and actively apply new insights. In order to have a briefing about the four stages, we will be looking at processing, continuum, and perception. So with the concrete experience, we are focusing on the actual experience which was lived by the individual. It's about being involved in a new situation or reinterpreting an existing one. The reflective observation happens after the experience. You step back to reflect on what happened. You consider what went well, what didn't, and how others may have experienced it. At the abstract conceptualization, the thinking takes place. So at this point, you start to form theories or concepts based on your reflections. You begin to understand the underlying principles or patterns. At the active experimentation, the planning or the testing start taking place. So you apply what you've learned to new situations and you test your ideas or strategies to see if they improve further outcomes. So the cycle is continuous. As you experiment, you gain new experiences, which then feed back into the cycle. This model is widely used in education, training, and professional development to promote deeper learning through reflection and action. Let's now take a very close look at each one of the stages. So starting with the concrete experience stage, where learning begins. At this stage, we are highly focused on the direct involvement in an experience or activity. So, the concrete experience stage is the hands-on, real-world experience that serves as the foundation for learning. In this phase, the person actively engage in an activity or encounter a new situation. It can be something planned, like an experiment, project, or class activity, or something unplanned, like a real life event or challenge. It is called concrete because it involves direct, tangible engagement with the world. This could be anything from attending a lecture, completing a project, interacting with group, participating in a workshop, or even something spontaneous like resolving a problem in a work setting. The experience is real and personal. So this is the stage where you do rather than just think or observe. You must actively take part in the activity for this stage to occur. It's not about passive observation, it's about diving in and being involved. Often, concrete experiences elicit emotions or reactions. You may feel excited, anxious, challenged, or inspired during this stage. And those feelings can provide valuable insights later in the cycle. The experience happens in the here and now. This is when the learning process starts, and it can often be messy, unpredictable, or unstructured. However, it's these real raw experiences that provide the material for deeper learning in later stages. Why it's important? This stage provides the raw data or material that will be reflected upon in the next stage, which is the reflective observation. Without a concrete experience to reflect upon, the cycle cannot continue. The richness and depth of the experience directly impact how much can be learned from it. According to Kolb, we learn best when we are actively engaged in an experience. Passive learning methods might not be as impactful because they lack direct engagement. This stage makes learning personal and real. When you experience something firsthand, you connect with it on a deeper level. You might recall it later more vividly than something you only read about. What is the main challenge in this stage? Sometimes learners may not have enough real-life experiences to draw from in certain situations. In such cases, teachers may use simulations, role-playing, or case studies to recreate concrete experiences. Just practicing in an activity is not enough. So this is the second challenge. If a learner does not fully engage or does not approach the experience with an open mind, the learning opportunity can be missed. The third challenge, the complexity of experience, where some experiences are too complicated or overwhelming to immediately process in a meaningful way. It's important to be open and flexible, allowing time for reflection and analysis later in the cycle. In order to maximize learning in this stage, we need to have a full engaging activity where the participant is working to complete it and is actively immersed in the experience to have his emotional and physical responses actively involved. The second thing to maximize learning in this stage is to have a concrete experience which involves stepping out of the comfort zone, which can lead to richer learning. Taking on new challenges or unfamiliar tasks can create more impactful learning moments. Curiosity is key as well, and making sure that there is proper documentation for what is happening through this stage. Let's move now to the reflective observation. The second stage in Kolb's reflective cycle is reflective observation. After the concrete experience where you actively engage in an activity, reflective observation is the phase where you step back, think about what happened, and then start the process of reflecting on the experience, observing it from different angles, and gaining insights about it. This stage is critical because it allows you to analyze and make sense of the experience before moving on to the next steps in the learning cycle. Reflective observation involves stepping back and reflecting on the concrete experience you just had. It's the phase where you think critically about the situation, what you did, and how things unfolded. In this stage, the goal is to take a non-judgmental, observational stance to the experience, considering both the outcomes and the processes that lead to them. It's about taking the time to think and observe without jumping to conclusions immediately. In this stage, you consider the details of the experience, what occurred, how it unfolded, and why things happened the way they did. This involves thinking deeply about the actions you took, the decisions you made, and the reactions to various situations. In reflective observation, you can look at the experience from different angles. This might involve considering how others perceive the experience or how different factors influence the outcome. You try to see the experience from various viewpoints rather than just your own. Through reflection, you may begin to recognize patterns in your behavior, others' behavior, or the outcomes of the experience. You might identify things that worked well, areas where you could improve, or insights that could inform future actions. Reflecting on your feelings during the experience can also be part of this stage. Did you feel anxious, excited, confident, frustrated, or something else? Understanding your emotional responses can be important in gaining a deeper understanding of the experience and its impact on your learning. The key characteristics of the reflective observation starts with critical thinking. To be a reflective observer, it is required that you think critically about the experience. It's about going beyond just describing what happened and trying to understand why it happened and what the implications are for future actions. This stage involves becoming more self-aware. You need to recognize your thoughts, actions, and feelings in the context of the experience. When you ask yourself the question, what did you do well? Where did you struggle? How did your actions influence the outcome? Objectivity is crucial at this level. To reflect effectively, it's important to distance yourself emotionally from the experience. This does not mean ignoring your feelings, but rather observing them from a distance so that you can think objectively about the situation. Last but not least, which is learning from others. Reflection often includes thinking about how others responded or behaved. If you were working in a group, how did your team members contributed? How might you have worked better together? Reflecting on others' actions can give you a broader perspective on the experience. This cycle is extremely important because through reflection, deeper understanding can happen. Reflecting on an experience allows you to gain a deeper understanding of it, which helps you move beyond the immediate reactions and surface level thoughts to analyze the underlying processes, factors, and lessons. By reflecting, you can pinpoint specific areas for improvement or further learning. You may notice patterns of behavior or mistakes that you had not considered while the experience was unfolding, which gives you the opportunity to adjust for the future. Reflective observation helps to hone critical thinking as well, because you're thinking about different aspects of an experience, such as how it feels, how others behaved, and how things could have been different, which enhances your analytical abilities. The insights gained through reflection can guide future decisions. For instance, if a certain approach worked well during the experience, you may decide to apply that method again next time and to consider it a best practice. If something did not work, you'll need to adjust your approach in the future. What are the main challenges of this stage? There are actually three. The first one is overthinking. One challenge is the potential for overthinking or getting stuck in negative or unproductive thought loops. It's important to reflect in a balanced way, analyzing the experience constructively rather than focusing only on flaws or mistakes. The second challenge is bias attitude. Reflecting with full objectivity can be difficult, especially when emotions are involved. We might tend to favor our own perspective or fail to consider alternative explanations. So it's critical to try to step out of your own bias and consider a wider view. The third challenge, which is time and focus, because effective reflection requires time and focus, and it's easy to rush through this stage, especially if you're eager to move on to the next part. However, rushing through reflection can limit your ability to gain meaningful insights. The reflective observation is very important because it allows you to analyze and interpret your concrete experience, gaining deeper insights that will inform the next steps in your learning process. This stage helps to develop critical thinking, improve self-awareness, and uncover lessons that can guide your future actions. Without this reflective pause, learning can be shallow and disconnected, but with it, you can transform everyday experiences into meaningful opportunities for growth. So, whether you are a teacher, a student, or a leader, when you start reflecting on the experiences that you are living every day in your school community, you will start having the best practices that will allow everybody to shape the school community and have a strategic improvement that will last. What is good is what works in your environment with your school community, your student cohort, and the staff. Let's move now to the third stage, which is the abstract conceptualization. The third stage in Kolb's reflective cycle, which is the abstract conceptualization, allows us to transform the concrete experience and the reflective observation into a broader generalization, theory, or concept. Abstract conceptualization involves drawing conclusions, developing ideas, or making sense of the experience in a more intellectual or theoretical way. It's about moving from practical to the conceptual. So abstract conceptualization is the stage where you begin to make sense of your experience and reflection by developing theories, concepts, or general principles that can explain what happened. It involved thinking abstractly about the experience and linking it to broader concepts, models, or theories. In this phase, you move from specific, concrete experiences to more generalized knowledge. You develop mental models or frameworks that allow you to understand the experience at a deeper conceptual level. After reflecting on the experience, you begin to have a better thinking and synthesization of the context where this experience happened. This could mean finding connections between the current experience and past experiences, or relating your experience to established theories, models, or concepts that you have seen in books, research studies, or prior learning. You may take the insights gained from your specific experience and develop broader, more generalized ideas that can be applied to other situations. For instance, you might recognize that a particular problem-solving approach worked well in the situation you reflected on, and you conclude that this approach can be effective in other scenarios. This stage is often linked to problem solving. You take the insights from your reflection and begin to figure out ways to approach similar problems or challenges in the future in an innovative manner. This could involve applying the theoretical model or developing strategies based on your reflection. Abstract conceptualization helps you make sense of your experiences. It's not enough to just reflect on them. You need to generate knowledge and meaning from them that can be applied to future situations. This is where learning truly deepens. By thinking abstractly, you can create strategies, solutions, and approaches for handling similar situations in the future. This stage helps you move from a passive understanding of the past experience to active knowledge that can be applied in future contexts. This stage bridges the gap between theory and practice, since it enables you to apply abstract concepts to real-life situations, allowing you to use academic or conceptual knowledge in practical ways. So, through conceptualizing what you've learned from an experience, you develop new ways of thinking and problem solving, which contribute to your personal and professional growth. There are three main challenges in this stage. Number one, overgeneralization. One challenge is the tendency to overgeneralize based on limited experiences. So it's essential to ensure that the conclusions that you draw are well supported by the experience and can be logically extended to other situations or adjusted based on the new situation that you will face in the future. Sometimes it can be difficult to translate abstract ideas into practical actions. So it's important that the concepts developed in this stage are not too theoretical, but are grounded enough to be useful in real-world situations. The last challenge is the complexity of synthesis, because synthesizing information can be challenging if the experience was complex, multifaceted. It requires careful analysis and a clear understanding of the broader context. We can maximize learning in this stage if we can try to seek patterns and principles and see the recurring connections that can be generalized. Also, by using frameworks or theories that can support us in giving a foundation for building new insights. The third way to maximize learning in this stage is to engage in collaborative thinking and see how the other people involved with you in the experience conceptualized the understanding. So your peers, other colleagues, the mentors, students, teachers, anyone, because the different perspectives can help you refine your thinking. And last but not least, creating a map idea, which will help you organize your thoughts through writing or creating the concept mapping that help you clearly define the abstract ideas you are developed and having a clarity about the connections and the structure of concepts that you have seen. Moving to the last stage of Kolb's reflective cycle, which is the active experimentation. This stage is where you take the insights, theories, and strategies you've developed and apply them in real-world situations. It's about testing your new understanding, trying out different approaches, and experimenting with new ways of doing things. Thus, you will start becoming an innovative thinker. This phase is essential because it allows you to see if your conceptualization works in practice and provides the foundation for new concrete experiences continuing the cycle of learning. So, active experimentation, it involves applying the abstract concepts you developed and putting the learning into action and testing your ideas by experimenting with them. The goal is to take action based on what you've reflected on and conceptualized, allowing you to see how these ideas work in practice. By trying new approaches or making changes, you gather more data, which leads to new experiences that will be reflected upon, beginning the cycle again. Active experimentation is about putting theory in practice. It's not just about thinking or reflecting, but actively doing, testing, and trying out ideas to see how well they work. This stage requires you to engage with the world around you by applying your newly acquired insights to real world situations, learning by doing, and adjusting based on what you experience. Experimentation generates feedback that helps you adjust and refine your ideas. The outcome of your actions, whether successful or not, serve as new concrete experiences for future reflection, continuing the cycle of learning. You may find that your initial ideas or strategies did not work as expected. In this case, the active experimentation phase gives you the opportunities to adapt or refine your approach based on real world feedback. This stage turns abstract into practical. By applying what you've learned, you can see if your conceptualization actually worked in practice and whether it leads to improvements or new insights. Through experimentation, you learn how to improve your methods and refine your strategies. Each new attempt gives you more information and experience, allowing you to refine your approach for new, better results in the future. This phase emphasizes the importance of action in learning. You cannot just stay in the realm of ideas and reflection. You need to actively engage with the world to test and validate what you have learned. The challenges in this stage are considered to be focused on the fear of failure, because one of the things that people fear is trying new ideas and potential failing. However, failure is often a valuable source of learning. So it's important to approach experimentation with an open, growth-oriented mindset. The second challenge is overconfidence. Sometimes after developing a theory or new concept, you may feel overconfident and fail to experiment rigorously enough. It's important to remain open to feedback and adjust your approach as needed. Keep in mind, we are living in an ever-changing world where every day there is a new trend and a new innovative idea coming. So being very stubborn about applying the same rules over and over is only going to give you the same results. And when you are aiming for a different outcome and a different kind of goal or strategy, then you have to try new approach and you have to have a different kind of mechanism for your work. Even if you fail, you learn from your mistake and you adjust and then you try again. So experimentation, which may require time, energy, or resources that aren't always readily available, but it will create solutions that might be needed in order to have new kind of improvements or reaching very highly promising targets for educators. In order to maximize learning in this stage, we have to start small. We have to test our ideas in a manageable way or pilot our ideas and then try to see what worked, what didn't work, and then we can implement them at a larger scale, giving ourselves a chance to fine-tune our approach. The second advice to maximize learning in this stage is to be open to adaptation, staying flexible and ready to adopt the approach based on the results you see. Being open to change is a very critical technique if the initial approach does not work as expected. So collect data, try to keep track of the results of the experiments, record what worked, what didn't work, and why, and use this data to refine your approach and learn from both successes and failures. What are the main benefits of Kolb's reflective cycle? The first one is its way to encourage active learning. Kolb's model emphasizes hands-on experience as a critical part of the learning process. It pushes students and educators to engage actively with the material and develop practical skills, which can lead to deeper understanding and retention of knowledge. The second one fosters critical thinking. The reflective aspect of Kolb's cycle encourages students to think critically about their experiences. By reflecting on what happened, why it happened, what can be learned from it, students develop analytical skills and the ability to assess situations thoughtfully. It promotes continuous improvement. The cycle structure supports ongoing learning because after each reflection and experimentation, students gain new insights that they can apply in future situations. This process of continual learning helps students adapt, grow, and improve their skills and knowledge over time. Personalized learning. Kolb's model recognizes that people have different learning styles and ways of processing experiences. This flexibility allows educators to design learning activities that cater to diversely learning preferences. Example, concrete experiences for some learners, abstract conceptualization for others, helping to improve engagement and success across varied student population. The fifth one, it bridges theory and practice. Kolb's model integrates theoretical learning with practical application. By encouraging students to experiment and apply what they've learned in real-world scenarios, they can connect academic concepts with lived experiences, making learning more relevant and meaningful. Kolb's reflective cycle promotes lifelong learning. The cycle is designed to be used continuously, helping individuals develop the habit of lifelong learning. By incorporating reflective practices, students and professionals can keep evolving in their knowledge, skills, and understanding throughout their lives. Lastly, it supports self-directed learning. Kolb's model encourages learners to take ownership of their learning by reflecting on what their own experiences and actions yielded to. This supports the development of self-directed learning skills, which are essential for success both in school and in professional learning environment. In sum, Kolb's reflective cycle helps to create a more dynamic and engaging learning environment where students are encouraged to be reflective, critical, and actively involved in their own learning process. Looking at this diagram that we have seen before, we have to start getting the main questions that underline each one of those stages. So when we look at the concrete experience, it is underpinned with the question of what happened, the reflective observation, what went well, what didn't, and why. The abstract conceptualization, what can I learn from it? And the active experimentation, what will I do differently next time? So Kolb's cycle is a powerful habit for growth, especially in schools, because it builds a culture of learning among staff and leaders. It normalizes failure as feedback, not a flaw. It encourages data-informed decisions and continuous refinement. Now, let's look at the main thing that can help us use Kolb's reflective cycle in a practical manner. So if we ask ourselves the question, how to become more reflective according to Kolb's reflective cycle, then we are looking at the questions that can help us systematically analyze our experiences, gain deeper insights, and continuously improve our thinking and attitude. So for the first stage, which is the concrete experience, which we are mainly focusing on actively engagement in the experience or task at hand, we need to ask ourselves those 5 main key questions. What did I do in this situation? What was my role in this experience? How did I feel during the experience? What stood out the most during this experience? What happened? What was the context of the situation? All those questions will be posted on the channel in the community posters for your reference and for easy usage. So in this process, we are focusing on thinking about the engagement, and we are focusing on the attitude and how open and curious we were, willing to explore and embrace the unknown. The second stage, which is reflective observation, where we are reflecting on the experience, looking back at what happened and analyzing it critically, then we have those 7 questions to consider and to provide clear reflections about. So what went well in this experience? What didn't go as expected? What surprised me about this experience? How did I feel about it? What patterns or trends do I notice in my behavior? What did others think or do during this experience? What could I have done differently? So this process requires critical reflection with deep thoughts about implications and potential lessons, and the person's attitude should be characterized as non-judgmental and open-minded. For the third stage, which is the abstract conceptualization, where we are looking to develop concepts, we have to provide answers for those 6 key questions. Number 1, what theories or concepts can I apply to this experience? What generalizations can I make from it? How does this experience relate to what I already know? What alternative approaches could I have taken? How can I make sense of this experience within a broader context? And what new understanding or insights have I gained? The person here should be looking at the intellectual engagement as a thinking process with curiosity and theoretical thinking, seeking connections between experiences and broader concepts, which requires the ability to challenge assumptions and reframe the way things are understood. Last but not least, we're talking about active experimentation, which is applying the new insights in real-world situations to test their validity and effectiveness. So there are 5 key questions that we have to provide answers for. How can I apply these insights or new concepts in a practical way? What will I do differently in the future based on this reflection? How can I test the new ideas or theories I've developed? What specific actions will I take to implement this learning? How will I evaluate the success of these actions? So the person should be a problem solver, focusing on applying knowledge gained from prior stages to new contexts with an attitude of adaptability and open to trial and error. So this phase reinforces the growth mindset where learners expect to adjust and learn from mistakes. In today's video, we explored Kolb's reflective cycle, which is a powerful model for experiential learning that has influenced teaching, training, and professional development for decades. We broke down each of the 4 stages and looked at how they interact in a continuous loop to promote deeper learning. Whether you're a student, educator, or practitioner, understanding how we learn from experience can transform how you reflect, teach, or design learning activities. Thank you so much for watching and engaging with this content. If you found this video insightful, please consider sharing it with your community. Sharing this video with your colleagues, peers, or educational community could help others benefit from Kolb's model and encourage thoughtful discussion around reflective learning. Every share helps us reach more people who are passionate about effective and meaningful education. Every day, we have a very valuable amount of experiences that we live at the school with our students, parents, colleagues, teachers, faculty, and staff. If we follow Kolb's reflective cycle and we tweak it to suit our community, then we are able to make the best of every experience that we pass through in order to have a lot of lessons learned and derive best practices. Don't forget to tune in next Thursday when we will take this theory a step further. The next video will focus on designing lesson plans that align with Kolb's reflective cycle, with subject-specific examples in math, sciences, and English. We will walk through how each stage of the cycle can be applied in practical classroom settings to boost engagement and deepen student understanding. Until then, keep reflecting and keep learning.